Now I don't know what this is except for it's a black case. And the owner didn't tell me what it is except for it's a black case. And so I'm going to open it up and find out what it is and what the problem is with it. But let's just check the little pockets first. It could be unexciting, and it could be... No, it won't be exciting. Let's just see what it is. Nothing in the cases. How many pouches? Nothing in there. Right, okay. So there might be something inside the... And now I know why I hadn't got that closed. Right, let's look at the top case. There's another pouch here. What's it got inside? It's got a jack and some... What is that? That's it. There's a jack, an old one, and some knobs. That doesn't look like a new jack plug. And it's got some strings. 9s. So let's see what we got. Where are we? It's red. It's in bits. Ooh. It's a bit scratched and cracked. And it's called a Fill Pro. Fill Pro. So it's in pieces. It's not wired. It's got spider webs in there. And so it needs to be put back together. But the bodywork is pretty bad. Scratches everywhere. What were they thinking of doing when they put all those scratches in? Well, I'm going to run my buffer over it to see if that helps any. Fill. It actually says it's a fill guitar. I must look it up and see what... PHI capital L with a serial number. Ooh. And it's pretty corroded in there. So it's going to need a little bit of TLC. The screws are even very rusty. So this has been sitting a long time. No tailpiece, no screw. The tuners feel okay-ish, but we'll have to see that. The head's got a crack in it. Let's just see. I have an old magazine here. If I put it behind it. Yeah, I know what you guys are going to do. You're going to try to read the magazine more than look at the focus of the guitar. But from the tree, the string tree, you'll see there's a crack going straight up to the E string, or is it the B string? There's a crack, but I think it's a superficial crack because it's not on the back. So it looks like it's a superficial crack, but it's caused by the string tree. Let's have a look at the neck. And is it screwed on properly? Oh, lots of rust around there too. So it's been stored away somewhere. Let's have a look. Always the wrong way. Neck's a little bit high there, so the truss rod's going to have to be brought down. But I think that the first thing I'm going to do is something was stuck there. Something there was stuck on it. Don't know what. But something there has got a score in it. Maybe it just needs cleaned, but we'll see. It's a nice colour of red if we can get that up. So let me get that off and the neck off and get all that off and get it treated and see where we are. Right, let's do that now, love. Oh gosh, rusted screws. My first investment was a really good screwdriver, and that's what this is. Not an expensive one, but a good one. Nothing in my place is expensive. I must look up a fill. I've never heard of a fill guitar before. I'm not filled with not double pun there. I'm not filled with expectations that it's a high quality one. It does seem to have a longer body than the normal Fender shape. It's maybe an inch longer. And these screws. So where's my box of tricks? Okay. When I take this apart from now onwards, I'm not going to say anything exciting, so I'll speed this up. Sorry about that, had to rush off to try to change my booking for my car. Here in the UK, we have to have a vehicle inspection done on our cars once they get to a certain age. It's a government inspection. Let's not talk about governments, but the government insists that you get your car inspected. It's called an MOT. Mechanical and Operating Minister of Transport license you need. In other words, if your car is not mechanically fit for the road, you can't drive it on the road without this license. So every year after your car reaches a certain age, you have to get it MOT'd. The problem with that is that in the English environment, you can go to any licensed garage and get your MOT done. But here in Northern Ireland, it is not as simple. We have to go to a special government centre, and the government centre will examine your car for you and give you a licence, which all sounds very nice indeed, except for you try to book one at the government centres and they'll tell you, yes, your car is due for an MOT and you must have an MOT or you can't drive it on the road. And this is the beginning of March. And the next booking you can have is the middle of June. So don't drive your car on the road until the middle of June. If you have your car out of MOT, everything's rusted, it's going to have to be fixed. All the heads, by the way, are all crammed full of junk, so I'm going to have to use a steel brush to get in there and see why they've got so much junk stuck in them. Ouch. And get that junk out because the screwdriver wouldn't go in. But anyway, that's the job for another time. Now we have a naked guitar with one more screw to take out up there. And then we have a totally naked guitar. Shocking. YouTube will ban me now for saying naked. But once it's naked, I'm going to give it a rub over with my little machine to see if it'll do anything to make it... Oh, put it in the wrong box. Sorry. Right, you two in there. Right, that's better. And the wire goes in there too. So let's give it a clean first and see what we have joys-wise. Where's my sanitary wipes? Those are my... There we are. Sanitizing wipes. Sanitary wipes. Yes, well, okay. Sanitizing wipes. Let's see what we get when we route it across the guitar. It makes the red look lovely, but it won't take those scratches out, I doubt. Right, let's just see if that's stickiness or... No, it's just stickiness. I thought it was a scratch. So, this guitar has suffered a lot of damp over the years. Must have been in storage or lying in somebody's boot. Or, what's the best story you could make up? This is John Lennon's guitar, and it was stolen by the mafia. And I can't even think, that's not even a good story. Well, anyway, we could write stories together. Now that's it. The muck cleaned off it. But let's see what's happened now when I put a dry tissue, which has vanished. Where are my... Oh, there they are. Sorry, Georgie girl. Georgie girl's up above the curtains in her little bed. And she's trying to get some sleep, and I'm keeping her awake. Do you want to see where she has her place? The radiator, that's still full of scratches. I'll just tilt this camera for you. The radiator is, there she is at the top, and the radiator is just below her. I put a shelf above the window and she lies there. Talk about spoilt. I don't even get that. So that's still, it's cleaned it, but it's left the scratches on it. So I need to get my little machine and see if those scratches will come off, because there's a possibility they might. So let's have a look and switch the camera off while I get set up. Actually, before I use my buffer on it, I'm going to use some 3000 wet and dry just to take the rough, maybe bring it down a bit. I may need to use 2000 and 3000. Now you may ask technically why I use a flat dish with water in it to do the job. And the technical reason is that I don't have anything else. So that's the only plate I have that I can use. Ouch, me head. My camera clock says it's been 9 minutes I've been doing this. Yeah, there's a scratch there which I don't think is going to come out with sandpaper. And there's some scratches there I'm not sure will come out either. But the majority of them have come out. And I'm going to just do a little patch on camera to let you see how it'll come up. You see, that's it dull now because it's all been sanded and the scratches are sort of roughly taken out. So I'm going to do a little bit of hand just in the center to let you see how it can come up, because it'll come up better than you think it will. And do you know what this is? This is the stuff you use on cars to take out scratches. It takes off a little bit of the surface, just enough to give you a shine and a buff. You have to press hard though. Alright, nothing coming off except for lacquer. So if you dry that up, it's not giving you the full effect yet, but you can see that when you do use it, you'll get a shine on it. Let me give it another little dry or a polish. That's only to let you see. When I use the buffer on the whole thing, it'll come up like that. Let me just see. Can you see that? Not going to get rid of all the scratches, but I'm going to go and have a look and see what a fill guitar is. Probably some of you out there are saying, it's a such and such guitar, don't you know? I know I don't actually. So you can see it's brought the color up again and it's shiny. So we'll do that later because I'm knackered now. It's 10 to 5 and I think I'm going to stop for a little while because I'm tired. So it's polished, and it's a lot better, but there still is some very deep scratches, but they'll be less noticeable because they're in the places where they will be hidden, but there are still some scratches there. I also noticed in the sunlight that this guitar is very badly faded in areas, so they had a sticker on there at one stage, and I don't think you can see it in this light, but it changed the shade of it. And there was a sticker on there which changed the shade. But overall, when I stick the faceplate back on it, the pick guard plate, it will look a lot better. I took it outside and used the paste on it, liberally applied paste on it, and did a bzzz. And as you see, I've got my new attire. Look, my new boiler suit. And I wanted to keep it clean. So I kept it clean, I'm glad to say. And you can't make fun of my sweaters anymore. So that now is there. And what I'm going to do is, the strange thing about this is this sort of cheap board, but these must have been, this electrics must have been put on, although I don't know, must have been put on afterwards, because you can't get that in there. Just no matter how hard you force, you can't get that in the hole. So the holes need to be opened up to get it in there. And that is what one is going to do right now. I don't have a lot of hopes for this these pickups, because they look quite cheap and they have been water damaged as well, damp damaged, and I have covered them, as you can probably see from my hands. My hands are covered in WD-40, so I don't have a lot of hope that they're going to be ultra powerful. Gee, see the black in there? I think I'm going to have to clean that. Anyway, I'll actually, it's thick glass in there. I don't know, is that going to come off? I don't think I'm going to be able to take that off in there. I don't have a spare one of these, so let me just see if that's going to come off without a whole lot of effort. Yes, it is. Right, okay. I'm going to switch off and clean it. What have they done to this guitar? Look at that bolt. That should be chrome colored, and it's stinking, and the thing's completely rusted, and the springs are all covered in that sort of same stinking mess too. Can you see them? Oh, come on, you can get in focus, can't you? It's all covered in muck. Right. I don't like this focus. I hate. Oh, I pressed the button and the camera came on. I thought I was pressing the button to make the camera go off. So what you didn't see was me cleaning all these. That was not good. But I cleaned these all, and I told you all, and I'm going to just have to repeat myself because I pressed the wrong button, because that camera wouldn't get in bloody focus. Sorry. And I cleaned these all, and I'm going to wash them off with white. I'm going to let them soak now. I've cleaned everything, but I'm going to let them soak in the WD-40, because that's what I sprayed in here. And after they're soaked in WD-40, I'm going to wash them with white spirit, and then I'm going to coat them with the anti-rust stuff. Now I'm going to press the button with my stinking hands. Just a wee update. I've got the neck back on, it just screwed straight back on. This pick guard assembly, I had to take chunks of wood out internally, had to use my router to take out big lumps of wood to get that to fit. Nothing terribly exciting to see, just frustrating. The wiring was completely wrong. When you put the switch there, it would have all three on and things like that, so I had to rewire it. There wasn't anything terribly exciting in that. I'm just about to put what happened was, before I forget, it wouldn't fit, so whenever they put the things on, it looked like it fit, but it was pushing the pickups this way. And the screws were too long for this type of body. It must have been the screws for adjusting the height of the pickups, and they were going into the wood. So I had to drill holes in the wood where those screws went down, so they could go down far enough to adjust the pickups. I also had to take a big chunk of wood away there, and that was a stinking mess. That was an awful mess, burning smell, smoke. Even Georgie girl didn't like it. And so now I'm going to solder on the jack plug and do a test. So I'll come back to you when I'm doing the test. Okay, I'm going to test this now to see that it was all working before I put it back together. So let's just check to see it's working now that it is back together. Let me just see. So where is everything? buzzy. Don't like it. So I'm going to have to find out why it's buzzy. Some earth's missing somewhere. Okay, that was my fault. I had wired this jack plug the wrong way around. For goodness sake. Don't know why I did that, but all working well now. So I'm going to put it back together. I'll just let the camera run and I'll speed this all up. Okay, I'll put my other glasses on. 3 bloody pairs of glasses. Feck, feck, feck. It's the only thing I don't like about getting old. Actually, no, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say there's not much I like about getting old, but too much like complaining, and I'm not a complainer. Oh, I like to complain. As most of you know, some of you know, I was a political person for 22 years, and I served on our local our local council as a councillor, and I was an independent, and I held nothing back. I didn't want any fancy jobs or posts or special money, so I gave them both barrels when they deserved it, and boy did they deserve it at times. The stories I could tell you. The stories I could tell you. Let me just try something here. I'm not quite 100% happy with this, so let me just do something here. Well, it's just a tiny bit better. Right, okay. It's amazing how corrupt politics is. It's a corruption that people turn a blind eye to. It's just politicians. What can we do about it? In 1993, yes, when I first joined the council, well, I didn't join it, I won a seat on the council in 1993. I won 5 elections after that. What am I doing there? But in the first year, they tried to silence me by bribing me. Now, they didn't bribe me with money, but they made me deputy mayor thinking that would shut me up. It didn't. It didn't. And within 3 weeks, I had a no confidence motion put up against me because I refused to not speak out. Because I was deputy mayor, I was supposed to be a nice person and not criticize people. But I caught somebody stealing. Red-handed stealing. They were using the council equipment and then hiring it out to someone else and then pocketing their money with their friends. So the first thing I did was go to the chief executive, and say, listen, this is disgraceful, here's all the evidence, and what are you going to do about it? And he says, well, just don't do anything about it. You know, it was an error, it was a mistake. Well, that's like waving a red flag at me. So I then raised it in front of the local councillors. There's 25 of them. And they were all sort of, oh, we need a report on this, we need a report on that. But I didn't trust them, so I went to the local police and I reported the matter to the police. And this took a period of months and months and months. So eventually they would do nothing and the police never came back. And so I stood up in council and named the person who was stealing. And as soon as I did that, the councillors were all outraged at me for naming the person that was stealing and tried to sue me. Spent a whole pile of money. Can you imagine what it's like when somebody who has untold deep pockets tries to sue you? Because the council doesn't care how much money it spends on a lawsuit, because it's not their money. So that didn't go very well for them, because this is a very shortened version of it. But that didn't go very well for them because There's a law in the United Kingdom that you're not allowed to finance somebody to sue you. And what the town clerk, chief executive, did was he was financing somebody to sue me. The person that I named for theft, the council were financing him, paying him to sue me. Now, whenever my solicitor, when I found a decent solicitor, discovered this, I went to see him one day, and I was actually quite worried because you have a huge council trying to sue you, take your house off you, try to take all your possessions and things like that there. But when I went to see him, he says, oh, the partner wants to speak to you about this. And the partner is one of these people that never speaks to anybody. You know what rich lawyers are like. So I went up to see him and I thought, God, I really am in trouble, aren't I? And when I went in, he was sitting behind his big mahogany desk, and he says to me, this could be 25,000, maybe 30,000 pounds. And if we're lucky, we might be able to get you 40,000 pounds. And I sort of looked at him and says, what do you mean get me? He says, oh, the council did this illegal act, and they did this illegal act, and they did this illegal act. And he says, all we need to do is sue them back again. But once you start suing them back again, you can't stop it because it's called a countersuit. But they've got all these things, and you're guaranteed to win. And actually what they did do was against the criminal law. So I felt great relief at that. So the solicitor says to me, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for them? Or do you want to get this settled and get it ended? And at that time, I wanted it ended. So I said, end it. And he wrote a letter to the council. And he wrote a letter to the local ombudsman, who's in charge of the council. And that was the end of the matter. That letter, one letter from the solicitor, cost me £800. That's about nearly $1,800. But it ended it was months and months and months and months it was going on for. But it ended all that nonsense. But you think, oh, he caved in, he didn't fight the case. But yes, I did. Because the next thing you know, the chief executive, the town clerk, announces to the council that he's resigning. Instantly, he's resigning. And we all sort of went, brilliant, because he's the one that gave all the bad advice and paid this and tried to get the council to sue me. So then I find out from the people who monitor local councils, they told me it was because of what he did to you. He was asked to resign, went up to his desk, and we put a letter in front of him and said, you need to resign right away. If not, you could be charged with criminal mischief, because that is it's like me paying someone to sue somebody just to get them in trouble. That's against the law. So he was gone, but the battle still went on about this theft, and eventually the police came back and said, we've investigated the matter, there's nothing to see here. And we thought, right, okay. So I had a little question about that, because they didn't interview the witnesses, they didn't look at my evidence, they didn't speak to me, they didn't check the photography and serial numbers and all of the equipment. They didn't do anything of that. They thought they were protecting the town clerk, who had to resign. But they made a mistake, because the chief constable then had to eat his words. Not the chief constable, the local constable inspector had to eat his words, and he went. The sad thing about the whole thing is that it would have been much easier if the chappie had stood up and said, yes, I did this. It wasn't deliberate. It was an error on my part, and I fully admit it. But he wouldn't admit it. He wouldn't admit it. So he had people fighting for him. So he had a breakdown, a mental breakdown, and was off for about 1.5 years. So I didn't want to have him in jail or anything like that there, but I felt that was enough. I had fought my case. But that's a sad story, and there's an awful lot more to it as well, but I won't bore you with that. That was a story that took 18 months to resolve, and you hear me telling you it in three minutes, you know. But it was a sad time. But I was all over the papers, all over the front page. I actually have an article somewhere in a frame here about the whole matter, and at the next election I came first in the election. I topped the poll, and from then on I didn't lose another election, because the people saw that I was an independent person and I was not going to take any BS, and that they backed me, and they backed me constantly, and I ended up being there for 22 years. It wasn't a fun 22 years. There was nothing that I enjoyed about it. None of these dinners and all that thing, and reception I had to go and all that. I refused to go on the junkets. But there you go. That was my story of the sad tale of my local council. There'll be more tales to tell you in future, but I'm not going to bore you anymore with that. So next thing you're going to see, I'm just going to screw that on and put it all back together, get the strings on and demo it. Alright, that's the springs back in. They are treated and cleaned with a wire brush, but they're treated. I've tightened it way up because I don't think this guitar should be using the tremolo, because all the screws that are used on this side of it, see all those screws, they're all worn away, and they're holding it on okay, but to take a lot of this action, they'll need to be replaced. Now I'm going to recommend to the chappie to replace those screws. I don't have replacements to give him, but I do think that they do need to be replaced. I have a feeling this is not his plate. I got somebody else's plate, so I have to go and get another plate. I don't think he gave me a plate with this. Did he give me a plate with this? Did he? Did he? No, he didn't. Or did he? I can't remember. Anyway, I don't have it, so I'll go and get him a plate. There it is, all put back together with a little trem bar on it, all the strings on it. It hasn't been set up yet, so tomorrow I have to adjust the neck, check the truss rod again, adjust the string heights, intonation, and touch up a couple of scratches on it, and then it goes back to this daddy. But I'll let you see all that tomorrow. Let's suck it and see. I don't know where that expression comes from, but we're going to tune this up with me doing nothing on it and just see what results on it, because the action's extremely low. So let's just see. I'll just put the tuner on over here, which is an old iPhone, and the iPhone uses like a pano tuner. I'm not as stupid as I look, although if I was smarter I wouldn't have had to search. Let me just see. This may not be enough to stop the buzzing, by the way. No. And because as high as I would like it, what I'm going to have to do is release the neck. I shouldn't have done this. I should have checked the neck first with the truss rod. And I should have. And I may have to put a shim in. I'll come back to you when I'm more organized. But there you go. It's all put together again now, nice and neat looking. Looks pretty good. The scratches were very deep, so they're still there, but they're not as noticeable. The neck is very nice, actually. It's perfect intonation, very good action, and everything is working well. So what can I tell you except for it's a cheapy guitar. It's called a Phil Pro. has to go home back to his daddy. Say goodbye.